team, we are here. We are here. We are ready. We are rolling. Hold on, let me get this other light on. We are rolling, peeps. As you saw, we got a fun Periscope tonight. First off, this is going to be I think a pretty big one. But we're going to start with the wine as always. So as you guys who were here yesterday know, we closed off Spain, starting with Portugal. And we've got something cool here. All right, I've never done anything like this before. I have no idea what to expect. I have two of the more popular white wines. In fact, to many people, the only white wine in existence who don't know Portugal very well. Vinho Verde. Okay, this is interesting. This one says Vinho Branco and Vinho Verde. But it is Vinho Verde. It is in the region. Okay, so what I did this time is I got two Vinho Verdes and Vinho Verdes from as big of a price point as I could. Hey, what's up, Brian? I did as much of a price point difference as I could. So first, let's look at the color here. This one is a lot more of a lime green. I don't know if you can see it. Versus this one, which is a deeper lemon. God, this is I hope you guys can see it from here, right? So you can see the one on the right. I mean, it's very clear to me from like without the camera lens. Much deeper yellow. And I guys, I think I already know the answer to this because this one has 30% Alvarinho. Remember, Alvarinho this is the Portuguese spelling of the grape. This is Loureiro is just one of the normal Vinho Verde grapes. But Alvarinho, if you remember last night when we had Rias Baixas in Spain, in Galicia, that's the grape that we were having then. And that was a very deep yellow wine. So my guess is that some of the colors coming from this could also come a bit from the oak. Although not usually. Usually you're going to get more of the color, like maybe from some malolactic stuff. But usually it's going to be the grape itself. Okay, so what is the purpose of this tasting? Vinho Verde, you guys probably know it as a very, very light spritzer wine. I mean, and when I talk about light, I'm not joking here. This is like 8%. It's 9%. Sometimes they're even as low as 8%. This is 9% alcohol wine. You could go through a bottle of this stuff and it would give you a buzz. That's about it. This one's a little bit more, 12%, because it's more robust. I got the cheapest one and the most expensive one in the store. Gazella, $5 brand. Okay, you're not looking for too much here. This one was about $15, $16. Okay, Destino. I know we got the pick of Trump in the background, right? Very much on brand here. So a little bit about Vinho Verde. All right, I gotta show my face. Forgot to show my face here. We got a little field look here. I got my super fancy make more detours shirt. Tanner would love it. I got my fancy shirt on here. It's like some thrift store shirt. And I'm going to show you guys the map. All right. So this is Portugal, right? This is Portugal. And this is Minho, which is where Vinho Verde comes from. All right. And so this is Galicia. Remember, this is where Alvarinho came from. And then throughout most of this area, it uses the local grapes, but in the north, they still use Alvarinho. And that's, I'm pretty sure, where this bottle comes from. They're not telling me exactly where it comes from. But since it has 30% Alvarinho, at least partially, it's this area. So yesterday, I mentioned about why Vinho Verde was considered to be green, right? It means green wine, and this is one of the things. I gotta get out of the sun here. And so they call it Vinho Verde in Portugal. And people asked, is it because the wine is a green color? And it is it has like lemon green, as you guys could see. It's like a lime green kind of color. But actually the reason for that is because the grapes, I learned this today, the grapes are very, very young. So traditionally this is an area that doesn't get a lot of sun. So there's not a lot of sugar in the grapes. So when you don't have a lot of sugar in the grapes, that means the alcohol percentage can't get very high. Okay. And so that's important because it means that the wines are very light and very tart, but also they are pressed very early. And so they're kind of green, right? Green off the stem. And so that's one of the reasons for the name. Traditionally, this area also produces reds, but apparently it's only locally found. They don't export them too much. It's very interesting. I would love to try one at some point. But this wine is traditionally it's pretty simple. It's kind of cool how traditionally that the viticulture used to be done. They used to have, and it's still done with some vineyards, but more and more you're seeing mechanization. But people used to have vineyards that were like garden plots, like a backyard garden. And because of the really steep granite slopes, remember, like same kind of deal as in Rias Baixas, they had big pergolas. And so it was a way to have multiple different kinds of agriculture together. So you'd have the grapes would go up on pergolas instead of being like trained in rows like it's usually done. They'd be on these top canopies that would be over top of everything. And then beneath the vines, you would have all other sorts of agriculture. You would have other plants to grow for your garden. You might have chickens and stuff that would, peck around and whatever. So it was really interesting how there'd be this traditional, like, I think it's really like sustainable and awesome. Although obviously from a commercial standpoint, it's a little bit tough to scale that. So anyway, the stuff today is mostly done a lot more in stainless steel, but traditionally they would use like a stone thing and then they'd have it go into an oak cask. So it's really interesting. The region's been evolving. Unfortunately, I would say evolving a bit too much towards international taste. This certainly happened when Portugal joined the EU. But guys, change happens. Change happens, and people are making money over there now, and we got to respect that. So let's try it out. Let's see the difference between this. I'm really interested because like it really begs the question whether or not you should just get the cheapest Vino Verde ever. It's kind of strange. Okay. So, as I've heard with the really, really cheap ones, like, and I guess in this case, Gazella, I don't really like this sun angle. I'm going to have to go this way. This has sugar added to it. Not a lot, just a little bit, but they added some sugar. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. If I was presented this against other cheap wines at a party, I'd probably drink it. Prefer it just because it's still light. But there's sugar in this, guys. They thought they could fool me. They thought they could fool me. They can't fool me. There's some sugar added into this. So it would be cool maybe if I had a mid-tier one, because this very, very low tier, I think this is already going to probably knock it out of the competition, at least as far as my palate's concerned. Because I hate it when they add sugar to wine. At least unless it's got like a very, very distinct style and tradition. Well, here's the thing. This is a thing that for New World people for the most part, and people who don't have a lot of experience drinking wine, they often don't like wine at first. So one of the things when I used to work at a vineyard, I would wonder they'd have these disgusting, in my perspective, like just really sometimes sickly sweet, like soda. It was actually a great way to put it. It's almost like soda. It was wine that had so much sugar in it that it would that you would it was like you were drinking like a sugary drink. So like white Zinfandel traditionally in California, and this was a way to bring people who didn't drink wine normally into drinking wine because people who are addicted to sugar and other things will drink something sugary in wine. But the problem is with some exceptions, okay, and I say some exceptions because there's also a difference. This is really important, okay? This is really, really important, and it gets the question you're asking about mead or alluding towards here. There is a very big difference between a wine having natural sugars in it and between having sugars added, okay? We talk like all you guys here who are about diet, etc. You know that there's a difference between the sugar found naturally in a fruit or the sugar found naturally in honey, and with just adding tons of sugar to something that's external. Okay. It's very, very different. It's different in terms of how your body processes it, I believe, as well for wine. But more like, not even speaking from a diet perspective here, it just, it's like an after the fact thing that affects the quality of the wine. Okay. Because you're trying to trick a palate into liking it by adding sugar. It's just like, oh, you get anything at the food store and they add sugar to it to make you like it. It's the same thing with cheap wine in the new world. It's one of the reasons why I'm all about, I'm impressed to no end with a lot of the mid tier and high tier, um, the mid tier to high tier wines in the new world, right? And we're gonna be doing all this stuff. I'm probably gonna have to drink some shit New World wine just as part of this lesson. Maybe not, though. Maybe not. I don't know if I'll do that to myself, to be honest. The low end wines in the New World, which is everywhere but Europe, are filled with sugar. Now, it may not be for people who aren't used to drinking wine. They may think of it like, oh, well, it's not really sweet, right? But if you have experience in wine, you know that they've added sugar. They may just have made it off dry. Like, it may not be like a syrupy kind of thing, but it's there. And this Gazella Vino Verde has sugar added to it, just a little bit, but it has sugar added to it. It's not natural. It's not naturally occurring, especially not in Vino Verde. And I'll tell you that because this is not like, I mean, I don't know. It's just, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan. Took another sip though, right there. So maybe it's working on me. It's got kind of like a weird taste to it. It just doesn't really, you know, my perspective is that in Portugal and in a couple countries, you can dip as low as like $8 or $9 with wine. But but really, if you want to have just like nice table wine in the States, you got to be spending between $10 and $15. You don't have to spend more than that, but you got to spend, 10, 11, $12, $13. That'll usually get you a solid dry table wine. Now in Europe, you can get it for like €2. Literally, you can get it for €2. And it's not sweet. It's a little thin, but I don't mind thin wine because I think thin wine goes better with food. If you're just trying to have wine with a meal and you're not trying to get anything exciting, thin wine's great. It's low alcohol content, goes well with food, low calories. Anyway, let's try the next one. This one better be better. It better be better. Absolutely different worlds. Like, you know, this isn't very, very frizzante, which is probably why they call it Vino Branco, and probably why it was the only Vino Verde that didn't have the screw top. I thought of this, but I've seen frizzante wines have corks in them before, and I really wanted to do like lowest and highest. But guys, this Vino Verde is a lot more like a white table wine, a white wine you would get out of Portugal. Okay, and we're gonna have a lesson with three whites from across the regions of Portugal. But this is really nice, and you can definitely taste that sort of roundness. Remember we talked yesterday, the roundness from the Alvarinho. You can definitely taste it in this. The 30% really shows. I think that frankly the Albarino is a much more powerful grape than the Loreo. I don't think the Lorelo has much character to it. It just provides a base, but that's okay. It's okay. This is a good wine. It's very interesting. Okay, it's not very interesting, but it's a good wine. It's a solid table wine. The Gazelle is kind of not a fan. So, um, this is kind of a failed experiment, unfortunately, because I wanted to show you the difference between a cheap Vino Verde and an expensive Vino Verde. And what I got was a cheap Vino Verde, which I don't recommend, and I got a white wine. So maybe I'm not going to do it again. But I think, guys, from my experience with Vino Verdes, I've had a lot of Vino Verdes. Aim for like the $8 to $10 range when you get them. Don't get the $5 one. Just throw a couple extra bucks out there, and you'll get a much better Vino Verde, one that's like really nice and refreshing and doesn't have all that extra sugar added. All right. The next wine we're gonna have is gonna be port. Okay, so we're going from opposite ends of the spectrum here. Not opposite geography, because port actually overlaps with Vino Verde. But this Vino Verde, we got a 9%, we got a 12%. 9% is ridiculously light. Port is this is gonna be rough. If you guys like to see me get like seriously buzzed on these things, you're gonna love the port ones, because port is really rough. I mean, I'm just trying to get through Portugal, guys, because it's gonna be something. All right, let me get my laptop out. Let's move to the COVID cabal. Oh, all right. So you guys saw that when I posted this Periscope, what I put in the title. What I put in the title, right? I put the bombardment. Okay, I put the bombardment for a very good reason. Just a real quick thing on the book. The book is behind schedule, to say the least, but it's fine. It's fine. I feel like I was trying to force it a bit. It's moving as it's moving. The reality, guys, is that I'm trying to balance writing with um I'm trying to balance writing with a lot of client fulfillment at the moment. I have a lot of clients, and also beyond that, there's been because there was a lot of slow period earlier in the year because things shut down. And I run an ethical business. I didn't say, hey, well, you guys paid, your contracts burned up. No, I mean, so things have been extended, and people are now like, I'm having I have a lot of calls. I have a lot of calls. I have a lot of fulfillment, and new guys are continually jumping in. So I'm trying to manage that along with all the other stuff in my life, along with writing, and I'm working on it. I want to make sure first I'm getting you guys 3 to 4 emails every week. So once I get 3 to 4 emails in a week, if I can get that going, which shouldn't be a problem. I'm just really, honestly, it's been a week that I've been gearing back up, because ever since 21 convention, 22 convention, that was like the last big thing I had to get through. I had about a week to kind of get back into a groove from that, and now I'm starting to, as you guys can see, starting to get more emails out again. So once I'm getting like 3 to 4 emails a week out, the rest of my writing time is going to be dedicated to the book, and it's going to come out when it comes out. That's the reality. It's going to come out when it comes out. So I appreciate your patience, but I'm not going to put it out unless it's high quality. So that's the situation. So I'm going to write, and then I'm going to have a baby on the way. So I'm going to do what I can do, but it'll happen. Don't you worry, it'll happen. Also, the masterclass, I have to review the videos and get those things put up there, which, I mean, hard deadline by end of the month on that. So we're moving along, guys. We're moving slowly, but I could cut out the periscopes. And then just focus on that. But come on, you guys love the periscopes. We all love the periscopes. Yeah, Dr. Tiger Joseph here is just crushing it, crushing it. He did such an incredible job with the filming. I just want to really make a mention and emphasis of this, that if you guys are looking for videography work, he's just like, I mean, you're not going to work with somebody who is more ethical, and he's just so talented. And just like, you want to get these people on the up and up. Okay. You want to get them before they become too big. So I highly recommend, if you're looking for video work, go Go reach out to Dr. Tiger Joseph. Not actually a doctor, but all right. COVID Periscope. So I called this the bombardment. Why'd I call it the bombardment? I called it the bombardment because this is what you do before a massive advance. Okay, if you go back to military history, what do you do before you take out a target? You shell it. You shell the target. And that's what's been happening. Trump is on the offensive, but we have, with the exception of a couple infiltrations here or there hasn't been a massive assault yet. He's just content to continue to fire shells on top of them. And they don't know what the fuck to do about it. They're in a bad state, guys. You know, over here, we've been positive ever since this stuff began. We've been positive. I think there's one thing I could maybe say is that I think the only real error that we've had the entire time I've had the entire time is that I thought that the COVID stuff would get resolved by the end of April, and that of course wasn't the case. That was a timing issue. Aside from that, everything has been pretty much progressing on schedule, and I can understand in hindsight why that wouldn't have occurred. That was just, you know, me getting caught up in the fact that it didn't make any sense to continue things to be closed from a, you know, regular person standpoint, regular person, logical thinking person. But if you're thinking in your terms of trying to cause maximum damage, then okay, yeah, that was naive to think that way. But I call it the bombardment because we are things are about to get really bad. And the Hunter Biden stuff has broken up the floodgates. Now, this stuff has been known about for a very long time by people on the inside and from people following Q, you know, etc. This isn't like it's not as if this stuff is like, oh my god, it's a shock. You know, Hunter Biden, you know, fucking his dead brother's wife. This guy, you know, this stuff he wouldn't have done these kind of things. You know, Joe Biden wouldn't have been corrupt. No, we've known about it, but now it's getting explicit. But I want to talk about something here, which I think is pretty interesting. So, you guys know the story about how this information came out, allegedly. Allegedly, this was Hunter Biden's laptop, and Hunter Biden's laptop was, how do you put it? There's a computer repair guy, okay? Computer repair guy, and he made a copy of the stuff to protect himself. And he passed it on to the FBI, but then decided to pass it on to, I believe, Rudy Giuliani and et cetera, or people in the Senate, and it got back to Trump. The FBI sat on it, got back to Trump, and that's the only reason that we're seeing these things, okay? Now, this is a great little story. I love the little story. It sounds very, you know, patriotic that this little, you know, computer repair person saved the day for the entire country. It's not true, guys. It's not true. It's not true. It's a cover story, okay? It's a cover story. It's obviously a cover story. Remember, the good guys make cover stories too. Remember, the good guys make cover stories as well. When we talk about sifting through disinformation, this is not about trying to like say Trump never lies about no there's tons of tactical and strategic lying, but it's deception to fulfill a higher objective. So what it seems really happened here was that you had these three Chinese people, Chinese communists, who had who this information got given. I hope I'm getting this right. That they got given to the Trump administration, or that the Trump administration got their hands on it. I believe that they leaked it to him though, because I've heard a couple different versions of this. I've heard versions where they gave it to the Trump administration, and I've heard versions where they were trying to blackmail the Democrats, because a lot of these figures in the Democratic Party, and of course figures in the Republican Party too, but we're talking about at this point like key figures in like Pelosi in the Democratic caucus, that they had to basically put the pedal to the metal when it came to shit with China, or you know, when it came to all this domestic stuff. And because you know, you look at these things and it doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like that this is happening organic. And this is why, guys, I have to say this. There's a lot of like good people who it boggles my mind how they still look at this stuff through 3D lenses. Like, oh yeah, the left is crazy. I can't believe they're doing this stuff. Like, I don't like Trump, but I'm not going to vote for him because of these things are happening. Or like, left people shouldn't be so crazy about this. People even on like the center who aren't going to vote for Trump are like, yeah, I don't know why the left is doing this, but I don't want to vote for Trump. Blah blah. It's like, do you actually think that this kind of behavior just happens organically? Like, do you actually think that that's the case? Where does this stuff come from? How is it that you have criminals running out on the streets, burning shit down? Okay, criminals, many of whom are recently released from jails, who are doing, we saw some videos about this recently, doing satanic rituals and stuff on the streets. And then you have the governors of those cities doing nothing about it. How can you, same thing with COVID. You have states that are being like deliberately economically destroyed. There's no intention whatsoever for the state to actually open up. It's not like we're actually worried. They will keep the restrictions in place as long as they can, and then when things start to actually get better, they'll find the new pretext. And this is what's been going on. At a certain point, you need to really ask yourself, like, are you like this can't possibly be done by anything besides deliberate intent. And then you have to ask, why is there deliberate intent? That's the thing. It's so clear that this stuff is not being done out of an abundance of caution. You would act differently if things were being done out of an abundance of caution. It's like whatever direction things should go, we're going to go the opposite. That's all it is, over and over again. It's an inversion. Okay. So, per this theory about the laptop, how it got into the hands is that you had these CCP, communist Chinese, were trying to put pressure on their agents in our government to basically say, hey, you better keep pushing this stuff. You better keep fucking up the U.S. or we're gonna show how you guys are all compromised and how, and that information got into the hands of the Trump administration, that it got, picked up on. So, pretty bad stuff. Now, yeah, exactly. Soros funded, right? Soros funded. You have the communist Chinese, you have a bunch of the monarchies and stuff, you have international finance, you have Soros, and of course the media, etc., are controlled by that. It's a big web. It's a big web. But I know I don't have to tell you guys this, but everybody who says, like, oh, this is conspiracy stuff, it's like, I looked into it and you didn't. I did the research, you didn't. And that's it. That's the big thing, is that when people tell you that you're crazy and that you don't know what you're talking about and this stuff is conspiracy stuff, but they don't know they haven't done any research at all. You're the one who's done the research. You know more about what's going on than they do. It's not that they've read all that stuff and that they can go head to head with you and say, no, here's why this doesn't make any sense. I think that there's a lot of conspiracies you can do that. Flat Earth, moon landing, etc. I think that you can make arguments in different directions, and I've heard interesting, third positions on those things. And honestly, guys, I don't like spam me with comments about it. I'm not really making a point about those things. I'm just making a point of contrast that there are conspiracies people who are both in the know can argue about, and then there's things that people just are ignorant of, and that they don't want to address that. So that's where things go. So anyway, what was on the hard drives? Well, a lot of information about fraudulent business dealings, right? We have now Hunter Biden's partner has now flipped, providing information about that, the money that he got from the, what's up, Dad? What are you getting? Do you want to say hi, Dad?
Hello. Sorry.
Dad supports all this stuff. Don't worry.
Love your Vino Verde. Oh.
Yeah, it's good. Which one do you prefer?
Well, I think the first one is the inexpensive one is very, very fresh and lovely.
Yeah, but it's got that sugar, Dad.
Well, I like that. However,
don't get old. Don't get old. So you guys remember Hunter Biden getting that money from the wife of the Moscow mayor? Remember that $2 million, that cool $2 million that Hunter Biden was getting? Well, apparently, per Hunter Biden's business partner, this was basically he was, as usual, Hunter Biden's role being just a complete degenerate retard. I mean, honestly, completely dumb fuck. Complete dumb fuck. But, he's got the connections. He's got the connections, right? So he gets this $2 million, and basically the intention of it was to facilitate a bypassing of the sanctions. And so a firm called Devon Archer, which he used an intermediary of, and he was supposed to recommend firms and stuff that they were going to use to bypass the sanctions. So Devon Archer gets $200 million, Joe Biden gets a couple million, and it's for money laundering, guys, for money laundering. And you know what's actually terrible? What's so tragic is that this almost doesn't even seem like a big deal because the other shit is so much worse. This is like extreme corruption, extreme government corruption. But I'm sure some of you guys are feeling it because I'm feeling it. It's almost like, well, it's just like money laundering it. It's just like a government official, the son of the vice president trying to money launder things, Yeah, it's bad, but because we've seen so much worse. And apparently that's the next shoe to drop, which is that on Hunter Biden's laptop, there's pedophilia. There's pedophilia. Hunter Biden, go figure, like father, like son, right? My dad and I, we drink wine. That's what we do. Hunter Biden and his father fuck kids. So, different family traditions. Different family traditions. You got Joe Biden sniffing around the kids, and you got Hunter Biden apparently doing some very, very sick shit. And as far as I understand, this stuff is coming out. And if you don't think it's coming out, maybe we don't have to be specific here. Maybe it's not exactly that. But if you don't think things are pretty bad right now for the Democratic Party, you got to wonder, why is Biden not on the campaign trail? Why is he off the campaign trail until Thursday? Why is it when he gets asked one question, it's meltdown, his campaign pulls him off? Meanwhile, Trump's doing 5 rallies a day. I'm telling you guys, I get really tired of the naysayers. I get really, really tired of people who say, nothing can be done, the deep state's got it, they're going to win. What movie are you guys watching? Because I see a lot of confidence in the good guys, and I don't see a lot of confidence in the bad guys. That's what I see. See a lot of fear. And then there's a lot of rumors that Biden's going to get pulled out of the race, which is, I think, the big question here. Remember last COVID cabal? Remember I told you guys I'm not putting money on the election because I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. And there seems way too much like trying to do something 3D, like put down money. And by the way, guys, I'm not telling you not to do it. I think that it's like, if I really had full liquidity, I would probably throw some money in just for the fun of it. But like, if Biden's on the ticket, what happens? What happens to all the bets? Like, what happens to all this stuff? I'm going to get into that. Is COVID-19 prelude to the next real epidemic? I'm going to get into that because that goes into something else. But I just want to hit a couple other things here on the Hunter Biden stuff and where things are going. I mean, yeah, I don't know if Biden's going to be forced to leave the race because the corruption's getting pretty serious. They have their internals, guys. Biden's getting ads in New York. Okay? I'm sorry. If you're getting ads in New York, you're fucked as a Democrat. You're fucked. Not a good situation. Well, the thing is, and this is really important. The arrests have to happen with almost full consent of the American public. They have to happen with full consent of the American public. Because otherwise, if there were arrests now, like people would really see it as even now, like these people are still there's still let more and more people are waking up, but there's still tons and tons of people who view this through like I see people in shit lib suburbia where I'm at. There are signs. I was actually, guys, I had a like I thought something was gonna be really funny. My intention was to is this good now? No, it still sucks. I'm gonna stay here. My intention, I had this idea, like I'm gonna just take a bunch of Biden signs, like someone has a Biden sign on their lawn, or they have two, and I'll put like 10 on their lawn. I'm like, that'd be so funny. It's just like a little, it's like subtle kind of making fun of somebody, like you're nuts. People do it on their own. These people actually putting like every window has some, they've got these new things, which it's just like the funniest shit in the world. They're like, vote and tell them Ruth sent you. Like, you actually are such a fucking loser. You are such a fucking loser. Like, it's not even funny. These people think they're cool. They've got this, like, Supreme Court bib sign. Tell them Ruth sent you. Ruth's getting you. Like, you guys are such fucking, like, I don't want to make fun of my boomer people here, but it's like, okay, boomer, it's like really, it's like that. Losers, total losers, but they're delusional. So if you were to simply go and arrest everybody, what would happen? Well, they're not ready for that yet. There's not, I mean, I'm going to point out something psychologically to you guys, which is that the reason they have so many signs there and the reason why they're like, I need to put all these signs on these lawn and why they're going crazy with it. This is what happens to people when they know unconsciously things aren't going well, right? It's the same thing in a couple where you see them post on social media pictures about how much in love they are. Okay? They're going to keep posting pictures everywhere about like relationships amazing. I love this guy so much. And then it's like 2 weeks later, broken up. Okay? So when you see somebody who's got like 50 Biden signs on their lawn, like it's because they're actually in a state of psychological collapse. It's called denial. And so you add all this stuff there to make yourself feel better. Okay? I really want you guys to understand this. People get lost in this, like they have some propaganda bullshit and they get upset by it. They think people don't get it, they're not going to wake up. No, they're on the verge. People are like shattering. It always gets worse. Like worse. It always gets worse when someone's about to break psychologically. Things are always worse for them if they're in denial. So, but we can't do it yet. We can't do anything that feeds into that. They have to actually break. They have to actually break. And there's no reason to do the arrest just yet. We have to continue to build consensus of it. And Trump continues to build consensus for this. The media ask him, like, how dare you call Biden a criminal? And he says, he is a criminal. And you guys are criminals too because you're covering up. He's been a criminal his whole life and he got caught. And we have all this evidence. People need to demand it, right? People need to demand it. More and more Trump rallies across the country. More and more people rising up. Things are getting great, guys, and they're going to continue to get better. They're going to continue to get better because for you guys, for people who have been in denial and for people who have been trying to, adapt to the frequency of the cabal, people who have been in the cabal frequency, things are going to get really, really bad for them. They are going to really, really suffer emotionally. No, we have more than 10 days till the election. We got more than 10 days till the election. We got a solid almost 2 weeks, I think. We got 2 weeks almost exactly, I think. 2 weeks till the election. Yeah, we got more time. I wanted to get this in before the debate because I think a lot of stuff's going to happen on the debate. Trump's going to use it to bring more and more attention to it. And I don't know the exact timelines. I mean, maybe we go through with the election, things don't work out for the Democrats. Maybe their next plan, though, is to try to pull him out of the race and try to demand a new election because they don't have a candidate, which I don't know how that works either. I've heard that the nomination of Amy Barrett becoming a Supreme Court justice is very important to outcomes with this. There's going to be a lot of 3D instability. So cool, whatever. No big deal. No big deal. I want to get a couple other things. The dam issues with the dam. People still saying it's going to happen. There's some stuff about JFK Jr. incoming as vice president. I have to be honest, guys. I don't believe this stuff. I don't believe it. I'm still open to the idea of JFK Jr. being there. Pence getting a plea deal and JFK Jr. coming in. I don't buy this shit. I've heard it. I don't buy it. Couple other things on the Bidens. We got Hunter Biden, 100K retainer from MBNA. And another thing I want to point out here, excuse me, is Joe Biden was a senator in Delaware, which is a corporate haven in the United States. And so Joe Biden was taking all sorts of kickbacks from credit card companies and whatnot, fucking over consumers. Just like people on the left. I mean, and there are people on the left who know this stuff, and God bless them. Okay, God bless them. Don't let them feel shamed for not voting for Biden. But there are so many people on the left who like pretend to care about this stuff, and then it's just like, oh yeah, no big deal. One of the biggest corporate stooges out there. So Hunter Biden, of course, getting a bunch of money for this when he's like 21 years old. He's getting money for these kind of connections. Big joke. Excuse me, I got a cough again. I get a little dry throat here. Drink some more wine. Clear that up. All right, what else here? So another corruption thing with Hunter Biden. We've got Chinese official pays Biden $1 million to advise on law firms to work with. The Chinese official arrested later that year for bribes, unrelated situation. But we're talking about somebody who is arranging these kind of deals for the Communist Chinese Party. Which, by the way, I just want to clarify, when I talked about arranging things for law firms, I was referring to that. I mentioned it in the context of the Russia thing, but it was about this. The whole thing with the Russian mayor, that was about simply laundering money internationally. Okay, it wasn't about advising for law firms. Just want to make that clear. We have Romney and Pelosi's sons, who now seem to be connected with Burisma in Ukraine corruption. Go figure, right? Go figure. They hate Trump. Very, very big barometer is if somebody in the public eye hates Trump, especially if he's a Republican, you just know that he's completely involved in this shit. Okay? You know he's completely involved with it. And a lot of Republican lawmakers are compromised. I want to emphasize that. A lot of them are only continuing to even support anything with Trump. Remember, like, what was the House resolution? It was like all but 30 people in the House condemned Q, which, by the way, Trump didn't. Remember that in the town hall? Trump didn't do it. He didn't do it. Instead, he said, well, I hear they're very much against pedophilia, right? I hear they're very much against pedophilia. He did so well in that. Did so well in that. Anybody who tells you he didn't do well in that, just like, fuck them. I mean, they don't know what they're talking about. Everybody who watched that, yeah, the black woman nod in the background. Guys, it's falling apart. 50 Cent, Ice Cube. I'm seeing more and more African Americans coming out for Trump. He's going to have a pretty big coalition by the end of this stuff. Was some of the military money sent to set up something to house everyone going down? Can you be more specific? I don't think I'm what context are you referring to here? I'm going to keep talking about other stuff. Okay. We got the FEC. This is a big one. Okay. FEC commissioner now going after big tech. And I've heard that there's a lawsuit incoming. I actually heard it got filed recently. Not a criminal suit of the United States against Google. That's going to be pretty big. Project Veritas had some really big stuff coming out about. I mean, not that we need to know any of this because it's obvious, right? It's obvious, guys. It's obvious that Google is censoring conservatives and manipulating search engine stuff. Like, I was trying to look up stuff about vaccines. I can't find anything on Google now. Can't find anything. If you ask, like, is this vaccine safe? It's just like, vaccines are very important. Anti-vaxxers, BTFO. It's just like, you can't find any balanced information. And I'm happy to see that side of the equation, right? I'm looking for specific vaccines. I'm looking for specific vaccines and what people have sort of figured out. You can't find it in Google. You can't find it in Safari. So, yeah. Yeah. I mean, 50's always been real. I mean, any rich person, I want to make this point. I don't think I have to make it. Anybody who's worth double-digit millions up. All right, I'll at least say, I'm going to say double-digit millions, but this is certainly true for like 50 million plus, okay? They don't give a fuck about, okay, how do I put this? Nothing is idealistic about them and their views. Like, these are very, very ruthless, practical people. You do not make 50 million. You do not have a net worth of $50 million if you are not like ruthless and practical. If you are not I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Thank you. If you are not ruthless and practical, like, there's no way you're going to make that much money. You can't afford to be idealistic at that level. So anything that appears idealistic to somebody who's worth 50 million or more is not idealism. It's a psychological operation to make you feel, yeah, or Hunter Biden, right? But to make you feel like, oh my God, this person cares so much. He doesn't even give a fuck. He doesn't give a fuck. Those people are sharks. Yeah, I'm gonna say 50 million. I'm not gonna say 10 million. Because down by 10, 20 million, you can still have people who are super wealthy but can have some status shit going on. 50 million plus, sharks. They do not give two fucks about it. They don't give two fucks about any sort of idealism. It's all agenda for them. And so 50 Cent is not going to deal with being taxed at that level. He's not going to deal with it. He's a businessman. He's not going to deal with that shit. So yeah, FEC commissioners going after big tech after the New York Post censorship. New York Post, for at least 5 days after that article where they broke about Hunter Biden's laptop, still shut down. Still shut down. So then we have the debate coming up. We have, I was trying to say that one thing on Project Veritas. Google's paid to manipulate the algorithm. Yeah, we know that. We know it, right? We know it. We know it. And then what else we got here that I want to talk about? I got two other topics I want to talk about, guys. So I'm not ready to end this shit yet. I'm not ready. I got more stuff. But I want to finish some of the 3D things on the Bidens and on corruption. So we have the debate coming up. You guys got to watch this debate. I think it's going to be even bigger than the last one. Very, very important debate. Very, very important debate. Very excited to see it. I'm going to have a little party with some friends in New York. We're going to have a good time. I'm going to spend a lot of time in New York this next month. Reason being, we don't have our shore house. And, after Thanksgiving, my wife is not going to be traveling anywhere just because it's going to be the last month of the of pregnancy. Hey! Yeah. There we go. New York party. But so even though New York's probably going to be crazy, I like to be where the action's at. So I'm going to get as much use as I can still get out of our New York apartment this next month. But yeah. All right. Last couple things. So we got the mics are going to be cut for the debate. It's going to be fun to see how that works out. I expect they said only the candidate's mic's going to be on, but I don't know if they're talking about the moderator, because it's going to be a bad situation if the moderator tries to interrupt Trump. Because Trump should just, like, if he gets asked a bullshit question, he should just talk about Biden, right? Ignore it, and talk about Biden. That's what I do. That's what I do. So we'll see what happens. And then we got the funny thing is Jeffrey Toobin, author of very, very serious person Trump book, very serious book about Trump corruption, Trump's, crimes and misdemeanors, right? Whips out his dick and jerks off on a Zoom call. This guy, and of course, the classic hypocrisy, like Kavanaugh is such a terrible person for these sexual crimes. Jeffrey Toobin jerking his little dick. His little dick. Jeffrey Toobin jerking off his little dick. This fat fuck jerking off his little dick on a Zoom call. It's fucking hilarious. It's fucking hilarious. I mean, guys, you just gotta love this. You gotta love it. They're so pathetic. Can you imagine being one of these people who actually looks up to these people? Can you imagine having Jeffrey Toobin's book on your bookshelf? Being like, I read Jeffrey Toobin's book about Trump. It's like, yeah, that guy jerked off on a Zoom call. It's so fucking funny, man. All right, couple last little things here. We have, Whitmer, that, I'm just being blunt here, dumb bitch, piece of shit, terrible person, governor of Michigan. She had 4 numbers that don't make any sense, 8645 on her video, on her recent video. And to 86, someone ready to assassinate them. 45 is President Trump. What does that mean? Hey, 8645, what does that mean? She calling for a Trump assassination attempt? Well, it got called out pretty quickly. So if she was, people are aware of it, as if she could do anything about it herself. Okay, last little 3D thing here. I just want to make a little point about the Trump taxes, okay? Because people made a big deal about this. I mean, of course, none of you guys did, because who cares? But Trump paying $750 on his tax returns. You have to update me about Rogan canceling the week's lineup, because I didn't hear anything about that. I don't really follow Rogan too much, so you can tell me about that. But I want to make this point here about Trump taxes. This is in the New York Times' own story, of course, buried beneath the surface. But it's like Trump only paid $750 in taxes. But actually what happened is that he paid $5.2 million in 2016, 2017. And he overpaid. And so he said, keep the money and pay it towards future taxes. And that's why he was paying $750. So if you prepaid the IRS money, that's apparently like some sort of crime in their eyes. Hilarious. That's very interesting. Yeah, Rogan is muzzled. I agree with all that stuff. There's a lot of talk about how he wouldn't have agreed to that deal with China on Spotify if he hadn't been controlled. I think muzzle's a better term. A lot of these guys, this is what happens, okay? It's what happens. You get to a certain level of fame, a certain level of outreach, and you're given a choice. It's that we'll make you more rich if you change your way of talking about certain things, if you censor certain things, and if you don't, we'll ruin your life. If you don't, we'll ruin your life. That's what they're told. So some people, I would say most, because if you go against them directly, you're going to have them on top of you all the time. And I'll have to say this, guys, I am not an Alex Jones fan. If I watch Alex Jones, I feel like I'm getting schizophrenia. Okay? He can't finish. Like, I have tangents. He can't finish any train of thought. And he can't go on a tangent and go back to it. it's just, to me, Alex Jones is ranting and raving, and it doesn't do anything for me whatsoever. The only time I've been able to digest Alex Jones is when Joe Rogan made him actually talk about things. And maybe Alex Jones does this as like a protection thing for himself to make himself seem insane. But Alex Jones is very clearly, you know, maybe not fully targeted because he's still alive and still on air. But I mean, you would be wrong to say that Alex Jones has not sticking his neck out. Richard Spencer is actually a Fed. Okay. Don't talk about Richard Spencer as if he's some sort of person who's been muzzled. Richard Spencer is a Fed. He's 100% a Fed. That's like very, very well known. He's a Fed. Joe Rogan is not Seth Rogen's brother. Um, so Joe Rogan is one of those people who's been offered a deal. Okay, Joe Rogan gets offered a deal, and so what does he do? He says, "Okay, well, I'll I'll accept the deal and I'll try to work within it." So what they do is they'll try to test how far they can go. So I know some people who shit on Joe Rogan, but I think that you need to be pragmatic and sort of sympathetic to the fact that none of you guys are putting your entire business and life out there. David Duke is also a Fed. I mean, I'm not going to go through this, but you like Loki does good work on this. Like, if you actually go through their history, you find that every single thing about them is like, how do they keep coming back up? Like, they're funded. That's a joke about like white nationalist groups. Like, 1 out of every 3 is a Fed, and the leaders are all Feds. I mean, it's a joke. And a lot of the plots, it's like 2 out of 3 are Feds. So yeah, I mean, that was another thing. The assassination attempt on Whitmer, right? That was like a total Fed thing. I'm not going to talk about it too much, but just look into the people who were involved with that. They connected to Delaware with the Bidens, etc. It's all a big fucking joke, guys. It's all a big fucking joke. Yeah. So I want to say this about Rogan. It's actually like a little bit of a kind thing to say about him. I want to say it about him is that none of us have the experience of having a huge, huge platform where you're trying to seek truth and to have people contact you and say, look, you better stop doing this. You better stop. You better stop going forward with this. We'll make you an offer. We're gonna make you an offer you can't confuse, right? The CIA, the cabal, they're like the mafia. The mafia is them, right? They're all different branches of it to certain extents. They work together. Whether they're in government or out of the government, they're mafias. They'll make you offers you can't refuse. None of you have been made an offer you can't refuse. Okay? It takes an enormous amount of integrity to say, hey, I don't give a fuck. Come after me, destroy my life. I don't care. Okay? It takes someone like Trump, and frankly, Trump had the connections and money he had been planning for a very, very long time to make the move. Okay? So if you're someone like Joe Rogan, who starts off with Alex Jones, both looking into 9/11, truth seeker, bringing on interesting people, and then you get contacted at a certain point, and you're told you better stop here. 7-Eleven was your part-time job. I love it. Okay, so Joe Rogan got that conversation to him, and he, to his credit, I'm gonna say this, guys. I really, really stand by this a lot. To his credit, he brought Alex Jones on not once but twice. I have to emphasize to you how much capital Joe Rogan spent doing that. And I think anybody who says that those Alex Jones on Joe Rogan interviews did not raise the awareness and consciousness of the human population is lying. Joe Rogan used all of his capital bringing Alex Jones on there. It was his most watched podcast, but he got tons and tons of shit and threats for it. And he did it twice. So he's doing what he could do. He's not the bravest person in the world. He's pragmatic. I'm not going to give him crap about it. He's not a coward. He puts himself, he tries to figure out where the line is. How far can I go? I'm going to cash my chips in here. I'm going to spend what I have, and then I'll pull back for a bit so I don't get axed. Because he actually knows what they can do. He's done enough research to know what he can do. You guys remember Loki Julianis. Look him up on Twitter. He's got like a red icon. This was one of the things when Alex Jones was on there. Alex would be talking about things, and Joe would finish his sentences, and Alex is like, "You know this stuff, Joe. You know it. Why are you talking about it?" You know, Cernovich is you can maybe make a similar case. You can maybe make a similar case about Cernovich, but it's you know, they're doing the best. I don't know. Cernovich to me, it's a bit different because Rogan doesn't try to harvest people's energy. Rogan won't participate in certain conversations, like Jordan Peterson. I think that's why he likes Jordan Peterson, and that's why he's had Jordan Peterson on there, because Jordan Peterson was another risk for him to put up. But there's a reason that Rogan won't have on Cernovich. Okay, Cernovich is not in that crew. Cernovich is like a bit player. Okay, he's a fame whore. I'm gonna say it plainly, because Cerno plays with your emotions. These other people, they won't breach certain topics. They're like, I can't talk about that. I don't want to talk about it. Cerno actively tries to manipulate you, and so he's like, these guys, Rogan and Peterson, they got some pretty good offers, and they kept a lot of their honor intact. But Cernovich is like a two-bit whore who lets himself get fucked for a little bit of fame. That's what I think. That's what I think, guys. But look, I'm getting called for dinner. Dinner's coming. I have other things to talk about, so I'll probably do another COVID Cabal Saturday, maybe, if I can pull it off. Saturday or Sunday. I'll do one of these again. And I want to talk about some deeper things, some more esoteric stuff that's gonna be happening. But I love you guys. I love you. I appreciate the going through this with you. It's really fun time. So we'll talk soon. Take care.